Hello guys, welcome back to Haymanager once again. Today we're going to be looking at your fancy Premier League players, and this time it's budget midfielders. So I'm going to get straight into the action. Much like last time, I'm just going to go through the players one by one. So first player I'm going to start off with for your, I'd say budget, it's 7.5 million and less, which for a midfielder is budget at the moment. 8 million for Jack Grealish. I think you'd look at 7 million, 7.5 million for filling a whole midfield. I've gone for 7.5 million. So first of all, Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes, I think, is going to be one of the best wingers for the Premier League in the next years to come. I think he is so good. So good. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do in the coming year. So he had 25 games last year before he got injured. He had 9 goals, 4 assists, and was really helping Leicester have a fantastic campaign in the Premier League. They did sort of fall off after he got injured. Him and James Justin got injured, and it wasn't the same for Leicester. But 28th in the league, tied for goals with only 25 games played. He's fantastic. 4 assists for him. He likes to cut inside. He's very much an inverted winger where he cuts in, makes a few darting runs at the back post. I really like the way he plays. Expected assists per 90. Ignore the brackets because I forgot to put assists. I put goals. 0.07. So it's not fantastic, but as you can see, shot creating actions, he's creating a lot of opportunities in the games. I think he's a great pickup for a midfielder. 7 million. He's going to start games for sure. Definitely going to start games. Vardy, Iheanacho, I think Barnes will play probably a left wing role. So yeah, Harvey Barnes, first pick. Great pick, 7 million. Next up, Jarrod Bowen. Jarrod Bowen. West Ham haven't done much dealings yet, which is a bit of an interesting one. I thought they might make a few different changes, but they haven't. It's a bit upsetting to see so far. I thought West Ham might be a bit more active in the transfer window after a very successful season, but I think they might have run out of transfer funds. So 38 games played, 8 goals, 5 assists, 78 shot creating actions. I think he's a very special player. 0.16 expected assists per 90. And for 6.5 million, Jarrod Bowen plays in a very advanced role. So you have Antonio playing through the centre, which is a bit of an interesting one. He's like converting himself into somewhat of a deep line forward or a pressing forward. And you've got Jarrod Bowen on the right hand side, who's definitely an inside forward. He plays very attacking wise. They played like 2 up front towards the end of the season, with Fornals or Lingard sort of dropping deep and having that free roam with like a central attacking midfielder role. But yeah, brilliant player. I cannot tell you how much I rate Jarrod Bowen. It was for Manchester United when we signed Dan James. I couldn't understand why we didn't go for Jarrod Bowen instead, because for Hull City he was an absolute animal, and I think it's only a matter of time until he starts producing goals. So for 6.5 million, fantastic buy. Then the next player is in that £7.5 million range, and I cannot express how much I enjoy watching this man play. Mason Mount. 36 games played, obviously a Champions League winner as well. 6 goals, 5 assists, which isn't a great turnover in sort of, I guess, goals and assists per game. It isn't fantastic, but you want to see how much sort of an impact he's going to have on a game. It's not too great. 0.25 expected assists per 90, so every 4 games getting an assist, so you'd be looking at probably 8 assists a season. And then shot creating actions, second in the league for shot creating actions. It shows how much he gets involved. With Chelsea, because they've got Kante and Jorginho, or Kante and Kovacic, or whoever they play in that sort of midfield area, Mason Mount's allowed to have a bit of more of a attacking freedom. For England, we saw him drop a bit deeper, press a bit more. He played in the front 3 against, I think it was against Italy in the final actually, or it might have even been the semi-final against Denmark. It just didn't work out for him. But Mason Mount, the amount of pressures this guy makes, the amount of tackles, he's up and down the pitch, I think he's a phenomenal talent. He's only 21, I thought he was 24. I thought he's got a bit of experience behind him, but he's 21. He's an absolute gem, and I wish we had him at Manchester United. Points last year, he got 147. So it's an interesting one. Only 6 more than Jarrod Bowen, which is interesting. Jarrod Bowen, by the way, 1.4% of players have picked him. But Mason Mount, 21.5% of people have picked Mason Mount. Now, do I think Chelsea are going to do well next season? I do. I do think they're going to carry on this momentum with Tuchel. It's going to be interesting to see how Mason Mount performs individually. That's the big one. Right, so we'll move on next to Rafinha. It's Rafinha, but his name is Raphael Bellolio. Fantastic name, but yeah, for Leeds last year, 30 games played, 6 goals, 9 assists. Per game, 0.34 expected assists, which I don't think is equal to the 222nd. I think I've got these the graphics a little bit wrong, but marginalised. They're near enough where they should be. Shot creating actions, 189th in the league. I don't think that's correct either, but 109 shot creating actions. He's been fantastic, I think. Absolutely phenomenal, Raphael. Or Rafinha, should I say. Last year, 133 points. 25% of people have chosen him, 6.5 million. Him, and I believe it's Jack Harrison. Jack Harrison has joined permanently from Manchester City to Leeds, and he is a phenomenal talent as well. He's really good. I think he picked up even more points than Rafinha. I think he picked up near enough 146 or something. Jack Harrison, he didn't play as many games, but he's got... I think he played... No, in fact, Jack Harrison played more games. He played 8 more games than Rafinha, but still had a great impact. As many goals, 10 goals, maybe 6 assists or something for Jack Harrison. But Rafinha, for a first year in the Premier League, I think he's done very, very well. I think he's a fantastic buy by Leeds. And yeah, who can argue with the fact that Rafinha's going to have a fantastic season, because he will do. And he's very, very special talent. Then, the final player that we're going to go with is James Ward-Prowse. Now, this all relies on how active and smart Southampton are with their transfers. We know that they've had a few players coming through in the past. They've not really had a scheme where they've managed to bring through a new sort of talent through the academy. And they had Bale, they had Mane where they bought well, they had Lallana where they bought well. Instead, they've got a lot of just sort of decent players around James Ward-Prowse. They've got Che Adams, who I think is a phenomenal player. They've signed, I can't remember the name of the centre-back now. It's not Salisu. It might be Salisu, actually. Salisu. It's not Saliba, it's Salisu or something. He looks like a pretty good centre-back for the future. But Vestergaard and players like that who are going to be playing around James Ward-Prowse, the goalkeeper as well, is a bit of a questionable one in McCarthy. But 38 games played, 8 goals, 7 assists. We saw him score a lot of free kicks last year. He's a set-piece specialist, so if that crops up in a game, you never know. 0.18 expected assists, 84 shot-creating actions. James Ward-Prowse is a special one. He's a very special one. And I think, for me, 6.5 million for a season where you're looking for a bit of a return, 8.1% of people have picked him. He picked up 156 points last year with 17 bonus points. It's a lot of bonus points. And someone who's going to get you quite a few points throughout the season, James Ward-Prowse is your man for 6.5 million. So there's your budget midfielders that I think will do well. A few shout-outs, for example, Jarrod Bowen. Jack Harrison, as I mentioned there. I'm trying to think of any others just on the spot that I can think of. I think Lingard's quite cheap again, but again, he's not really going to cut it. Other than that, there's not really many great midfielders out there that are going to pick you up quite a few points. The pricing has gone way too high now for me. So budget midfielders are going to be hard to come by. You had Grealish last year, Ward-Prowse was a decent one. You've got Barnes, who was a decent one as well. Players that could turn up, could not. It's one of them. But yeah, I think sacrificing and getting 2 budget midfielders, 2 budget defenders to have great strikers, or even if you want to just play 2 strikers and have a budgets forward, it's always great to think about which players are going to come in. And these 5 players that are picked there, you sort of have a rotation on the 2 spots where you're going to have a budget 2 in the midfield, or budget 1, or say whatever fixtures come up, you can sort of interchange them. So yeah, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Thank you for 76 subs, and I shall catch you in the next video. From me, Alex, have a great day.